Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Tulley, a senior writing coach with Defend and Publish, and this is episode 23, Summer Reset, My Office. So in the spirit of ending a semester and thinking about how I might use a few extra hours I may have in the summer to get my workspaces organized, I started thinking about all the different workspaces I have. And this episode, just as a little warning to our audio listeners that listen to this as a podcast only, I am going to show a couple of pictures of something very scary, and it's my office. So this is going to be a prompt to have us think through, some different ways that we can work through our own office spaces and make them a little bit more productive. But this one, it definitely has some visuals. So if you're not watching it, I will describe a couple of the things that are going on as they might sound familiar. So let me share a screen for those of you that are going to actually watch the video for this one. And what we have here is what I'm calling a summer reset. You can see the first picture is what my office looks like when you walk in the door. So I don't know what your offices look like if you are lucky enough to have an academic office, because many of our colleagues do not, or they have to share. Or you may have a home office instead that you're doing a lot of your academic work from. But this office picture that you're looking at for mine is when you walk in the door. And so for people that can't see the picture, what you're looking at is two big file cabinets, old school metal file cabinets, about 8 drawers total. A closet door, because I am lucky enough to have a closet in my office, only because at the University of Findlay, where I'm located, we have little houses for our offices. And I'm actually in an old bedroom for my office. So I have a closet. And the other thing that you probably see right away is there's a whole bunch of bins and baskets and junk all over the floor and books. And I'm seeing an old umbrella, and there's some shredding and some law school flashcards. I'm not going to law school, but many of our students are. And so somebody returned those to me for our graduate program. They're sitting on the floor. So that's the first picture that you're looking at. The second one is more scary, because this is the view. If I look over to the left where my desk is, everything is everywhere. So there's more bins and baskets on the floor. There's empty Amazon boxes on the floor. There's a whiteboard that had a writing schedule on it that is now long since abandoned. And there's a big gray bag in the front. If you're like, what is in there? That's a bunch of old t-shirts for our program that we aren't using, but we're going to give them away to new students. There's books. I see way in the back, there are pictures of my children from 5 or 6 years ago. They're not even, they're a lot bigger now. So, and a coffee cup on the desk. I know I mentioned my love for coffee. That's on there. Another picture, if you look at my actual desk space where I'm recording this episode right now, stuff all over the desk. There's, some hand sanitizer wipes, because everybody's got those laying around. You see my podcast mic. So even though in the actual video, if you would just normally watch me podcasting, you don't see any of this. This is what's surrounding me right now. And I'm using that as a launching point for a series that I'm going to do, just to have us think about resetting some of our spaces where we do our work. I like the word reset much better than the word makeover, because makeover implies I'm going to do something really amazing and drastic. And I don't think that I'm going to be able to tackle something like that this summer, because what I'm seeing in my office, and actually in many of my colleagues' office, for those of us who've been able to go back to campuses, is that a lot of us in the past year have used these just as a holding space. If we were lucky enough to be able to come to campus at all, or we felt safe enough, or we were in an environment where we could do that. Like many of my colleagues, I came in here long enough to throw my stuff in and leave. I might have come to grab a book I needed for a class, or, maybe some tool, maybe some software, or some like cameras or something like that I needed for a digital class I was teaching. But I didn't spend any time in here. And so what's in here now is an enormous buildup of just stuff that I've neglected and I haven't cared about. And this may seem slightly off track from writing, but in my mind, it isn't. And here's what I'm thinking when I'm looking at this. I don't actually write in this office. In many of the previous episodes, I've already talked about how I like to write in the library. And during COVID, obviously, I managed to write in my dining room. I know I've mentioned that in some other episodes, and there's been some pictures in previous ones where you can check that out. But this office is where I do most of my teaching work. So when I'm able to come to campus, this is where I prep for my classes and I set up, and this is where I keep all the books I need to do that. I keep track of things. I keep a lot of our graduate program recruitment materials in here. And then, of course, I've been here, I think, 18 years. So all the odds and ends that have built up, gifts from students, 5 or 6 abandoned umbrellas from all the classrooms, because every time I would see one abandoned, if nobody claimed it, I would just take it and then hand them out to students. Just, there's so much stuff in here. And so what I'm thinking about for this summer, and I've really made this a 30-day goal of mine, is to really reset some of these spaces that just haven't gotten any attention in a while. And how I think this is going to help with writing productivity is twofold. One, the more we have this mental and physical clutter laying around, I'm sure many of us have heard all the organization shows. You may be into minimalism. I'm not, but you may be. I do think that there is that visual tax on you when you walk in the office and you see, oh, I have all this stuff. And even to do this podcast today, I had to clear off this, space to make room for it. And so I know for me, I will be like more relaxed by just looking at something that's a little bit more organized. It's not going to be amazing. I will show you some after pictures when I get done with my little 30-day reset. And I'm just going to do what I can in the 30-day time frame. So that's the physical and the visual clutter. But the other thing that I think this will help me with is I do think I will be a little bit more efficient in prepping for my classes. I already feel like I do a lot of efficient prepping. I know in some previous episodes, I've mentioned an Inside Higher Education article I did on pattern teaching, where I explain how to do that. I will put that in the show notes, as well as these pictures for anybody that's not watching the video of this. But one of the things that's really, I think, useful about thinking about prep time is you do have to have a place to do it, and you have to know where everything is. And for me, I don't know where everything is. If you asked me, you said you have 5 minutes to find all the books you need for your fall classes, I will not be able to do it. I have no idea. I know I threw them in here at one point because we did go back face to face. One of the classes I'm teaching again, I know they're in here somewhere, but I have no idea. I could not find them quickly. And so what I'm going to do in the 30 days, if we're getting back to how this might help me with my own writing, is that in 30 days, I'm going to do what I can. I've decided I'm going to give this project an hour a day for 30 days or the equivalent. So if we think about it over the course of June, it's 30 days, 30 hours. And then what's going to happen from there is I'm hoping that I'll have done enough of a dent that I'll feel like I'm back on track for doing some teaching prepping. And that will get me on track to have a little bit of a cleaner ramp in to start the fall semester. So as many institutions, our institution is also going back face-to-face in the fall. It already had kind of done that, but now it will be for most of the classes. So I have to have regular office hours again. I have to have, this be a space where people can come and visit me and not just look at everything, in disbelief. So one of the things I'm hoping that might happen is that just with that cleaner reset, I'm a little bit more efficient at finding things and prepping things. The other thing that I think will be really useful is, even though I don't write in here, I do want the opportunity that I could do it if I had something happen. Like, for example, a student that didn't show up for an office hour, or I was supposed to meet with a colleague, but she's running 15 minutes late. I would love it to have a space in here that would be a little bit cleaner, where I could have that ready to go feeling that I could just launch into doing some writing or take some notes on a talk I might want to do, or a brainstorm or something like that. So this is one of the things that I'm working on this summer, and kind of bringing this back full circle. We're going to just look at a couple of different ways you can reset your areas. So for many of you that aren't working on your campus at all, or you don't have your own space there, this could be the same in a home office. Right now, because I'm back at work, this is my office. I'm not using a home office per se, but I think the same holds true. Maybe you're not meeting with people in a home office in the same way, but you might be doing it on Zoom, and you might want to do it in a way that you're not using one of the Zoom backgrounds. You want to have your legit space showing in that as part of your area. Another thing that you might think about too is what can possibly go. I know in here, I've got materials from 5 years ago that now in a post-COVID world, they're just not all that relevant anymore. Many things that we used in our graduate program were shared tools and things that students would pass on to each other. There was a lot of touching. We had some laptops we were checking out. A lot of that stuff for me, I'm going to have to rethink how we do that. And that may be the same case for you. So one of the things I'll do a follow-up episode just on a quick, here are some changes that I made to kind of be ready for, what's going to happen. I guess we don't want to say a post-COVID world, but, since, from the start of the pandemic, where are we now? I want to make sure that we have something that's set up for us to start back in the fall. And I think if you take some time to do a little bit reorganizing, a little bit of cleaning, this might be helpful. But again, I wouldn't want you to think that you have to go for a full-on makeover. So I am definitely not doing that. You'll see what I'm able to get to. My 30 days is not going to include just an hour in this office, because I do think with 30 hours in this office, I could do probably a pretty good job, but it will include some other things. So as a preview for next week, one of the things that I'm going to look at next week is actually doing some cleaning of my desktop, of my computer, of my files, all that kind of stuff, and some organization. And to leave you today, I want to leave you with two things. There were two articles I found because I started looking around for tips on having a really effective faculty office. And guess what? There's not much out there. This is not a thing people want to talk about. I did find one article about someone that had talked about what future faculty offices might look like and some of the things that professors prefer and why. And I think this one's a really good read because it talks about why professors like to have their own office. And certainly one of those reasons is to have a space away from everyone else where you can write. And there's some other things in the article that you can check out if you want to take a look at that one. Another one that I found too was a grad hacker article in Inside Higher Education, or a grad hacker blog. And this is a long time ago. I believe this was 2013. And it was 7 tips for creating a home workspace. So those of you that are working from home, and that's going to still be your place where you're doing a lot of your teaching prep, your scholarly writing. There's some really good tips in there that we can bring out and over the course of the next couple of weeks, we certainly can talk about those a little bit more. But I'm hoping that this helps and this gives you some ideas about what you might do for your summer reset.